Hello, Core 3 Beauties. This is Marcos, and this is our week 12, going to week 13 recap briefing video for our Core 3 topics class at Parsons School of Design. Let's get into it. Things are getting busy, and I want to make sure everybody is on track with a good understanding of what's going on next week and the weeks to come. But for the workflow for week 13, as we leave week 12, is to continue with the design development of your main component, whether it be the analog piece or the digital piece you chose to focus on first. It may even be that you're working on both of them sort of simultaneously. Now, again, I want to make sure that each of you are aware that this is now in your hands to plan the pace of your schedule and to make sure you meet all the right milestones for getting things done so that by the time we have our final reviews, you will be fully prepared with an incredible, great, thorough, inspiring presentation. And we have some good news on our final presentation as we're going to have a bonus week, which we'll talk about soon. But don't let that bonus week fool you or slow you down or distract you or cause you to come off the path to human flourishing. Make sure you stay on track and amplify your efforts even more now. Last week, we had kind of a few too many people who didn't quite get very much done. And again, that's okay. As I said, these kinds of things begin to happen at this point in the process, but you must recover from that quickly and then double your efforts to catch up and to go ahead even. So let's make sure we're staying focused. We have holidays coming up soon, and we got to be sure we get through this. So let's look at next week. Next week on Tuesday, we're going to have another work day at your own spaces, wherever you choose. And we will be having individual reviews on Zoom that I will send out a schedule to have check-ins with each of you. And I want to make sure that each of you have a lot of progress. You have the weekend, you've had time last week, and I want to make sure you're building up and give me permission to call you out. If you're in a kind way, of course, if you're not uh, leveling up or getting to the point where you should be, as I'm here to coach you through this and make sure you stay on track. I don't want a collapse, a breakdown happening soon, which we've seen the 3 weeping emojis that is in coming up in the path now, and we got to make sure we avoid that. Or if we have the 3 weeping emojis happen to us, they happen quickly and painlessly, and we move on and recover. Yes, there's a suffering going on now as we try to get this done, but suffering is the key to happiness. And I want you guys to make sure you stay strong and you power through it. But back to next week. On Thursday, after we have our Tuesday check-in meetings, we're going to all meet in class, and we're going to have a special class, a cross-cohort critique with a fellow different class, where we will be splitting our class in half and sending half to their class, and they'll send half to our class, and then we'll pair up and do quick speed critiques 2 or 3 times with different individuals from the other class so that you can get both a sense of what others are doing, give them feedback, as well as get feedback and present your projects and be able to gain from that experience in a great way. And then one little annoying detail, I'm thinking, hoping, pretty sure this is the last final cross topics video. This one's on books, so sounds like a great one. Please watch that and be ready for the question on your final examination, which will be, have you watched all the cross topics videos? And the answer is yes or no, and be ready to answer that question. I'm giving you the answers in advance so that you can all ace the final examination. Okay, so here is the window for the rest of the semester, and lots is beginning to darken out. And we are at week 13, 14, and 15 are remaining officially. And 14 has, the week after next has Thanksgiving in it. So that's going to be a good, great pause, a time for rest, a time for gratitude, but also a time potentially for panicking, fleeing, and weeping and gnashing of teeth if we're not careful. So let's make sure we surge towards Thanksgiving so that we can take a full day of break. And then if needed, your long weekend may need to require participation in your projects. But if you can get so far ahead that you can have a full Thanksgiving weekend, then great, let's prepare for that. but that may be the crying time if we're not ready. But after week 13 coming up, 14, after that 15, we had planned to end on the 5th, and always had lamented why our class ended so much sooner than the other classes. That kind of remains a mystery, but it does say that on my schedule. But I talked to both halves of the class last week, and we all agreed that we can create our own self-imposed bonus week, week 16, for our final reviews. And that is the plan. As you can see, the celebrations are happening there on our 10th week of the project, week 16. And that is now the goal, to be able to be ready on either the 10th or the 12th. I don't quite have a process yet on who's going to go on which date yet. I'm obviously most likely anyone who's behind still at that point will be able to do Thursday, but don't assume that you can just take that. You may be caught unprepared, and you may find yourself on the Tuesday final review group. So either way, I want you to both be prepared for both or either days, and we can talk more in class about what day is best for you. And if you get Thursday, if more is given to you, then more will be required. So just know that a little extra more will be looked for in your work if you have those 2 extra days. It's not a free prize. Okay. So that, I think, is what we need to know for now. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the cross topics cohort critique on Thursday. And each of you will have one of 2 roles. And these are serious roles, never mind the silly emojis, but you can either be a host and you stay in the classroom and you are the host to our guests who will come from another class. And that requires a responsibility of being open and gracious and making them feel welcome. Or you may take maybe the higher level role of being an envoy and traveling to the new classroom, meeting the people in that classroom. And with that comes a heavy responsibility. You are out in the world representing our class, and you must do it proudly and do it well. So be a gracious envoy and a guest to them, and share your work. Whether you're an envoy or a host, it'll be about sharing work with individuals, providing them feedback, and then getting them to look at your work and be able to give feedback. Now, I want to remind you all that we have that special structure where we brought beauty into all of our assignments for the semester as the core North Star of what we're doing. And then we also brought in the Design for Good challenge, where we were asked each to find a cause worth putting efforts into, and then to create a brand around that cause, and then to create your pieces that take aim at those causes to help better make change and improve outcomes for the goals you set. So your fellow classmates in your other cohorts probably won't be doing it that way. So it may be a little bit different. So just maybe you want to explain that so that they can see that our process was the way it is. And I'll be curious to see how you find the other classes work. So we'll have a debriefing, I guess the next week, or maybe even when you all come back before the class is over, and share on that. So that's going to be fun. Dress your coolest and be ready with your work, more importantly. So remember, we got, I think, one more. Don't hold me to it if there's another. And I think it might be actually video 12 instead of 11, but it's not on image books, it's on books. That's a typo there. Okay, so we're getting closer to the end, but with the end comes some tribulation, some trials. The clouds are moving in. It might become difficult for each of you now. There's a lot of stress, a lot of things going on. There are obstacles in your way. Watch out for the boys, the disreputable people that might lure you into doing things. Watch out for vices. Watch out for idols. Watch out for things you might not expect that could blow up, and maneuver your way down through these last 2 pieces. We're heading down to human flourishing. Follow the light. Follow the light down to the end of this assignment. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and remember that beauty is over us, giving us each an invisible embrace of beauty. And that's going to give us power to get through, because we're shooting to create beauty that will affect change for good in the world, and more importantly, in individuals. So let's keep going. Do reach out to me if you have any questions or need any feedback. I'm open to having check-in meetings as needed. Do not miss the next meeting. And if anyone's worried about their attendance, please reach out to me so we can figure out a plan to avoid the A making machine changing the shape of that letter to have two curves or one big half circle that looks a lot like a C. We don't want any of those shapes. We want just two triangly pointed thing with a slash through it. The A making machine loves to make that shape, and don't get in its way. And attendance is becoming a problem for many of you. Okay, so keep going, everybody. And I will see each of you individually on Zoom on Tuesday. And have a great rest of the weekend and week.